All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Alex Newhook signed a new deal with the Montreal Canadiens and then made some comments that made a lot of Avalanche fans go, what? Or, huh? Or, excuse me? We'll talk about that. New episode, Locked On Avalanche, coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And definitely subscribe to our subtext. Link to that is in the show notes below. When you subscribe, you can chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right, we'll get to some questions that we had on social media a little bit later in the day, including when it's all said and done, who's going to have the better core? The early 2000s Avs or this current era? We'll talk about that. We also, a little bit of housekeeping, we will be doing our crossover Friday, our summer road tour, and we're going to be meeting up with our good friend, Mr. Adam Denker from Locked On Lightning. I think he might have something to say about a certain player that we acquired from them, so that'll be fun. Where we're going to start is a player that we got rid of in a trade, and that was Alex Newhook, sent to Montreal, of course, well documented. They did sign him a couple days ago to a extension, a 4-year deal worth $2.9 million per AAV. And then he did a press conference with the Montreal media, and we'll get to the comment, the specific comment in a second. But I want to know first what you think of that deal.
When I heard of the deal, 4 years, 2.9. Immediately, thank you, Sidney Crosby, for ruining this for everybody. Immediately, like, why 2.9? Why are you doing a Nathan McKinnon number? So at first, I was like, that's a little odd. But then I was like, wow, they are really seeing something in Newhook that I know is there somewhere. I just have not seen it put on the ice and put together. So that's a real big gamble for Montreal. Like, all the everydayers have been listening day in, day out of the show. We were just talking about like Miles Wood and Johansson and really banking on potential. Montreal just set the textbook on paying for potential.
Well, and you listen to what they say, and that's exactly what they think. They feel that Newhook was not used in the right way in Colorado, and they kind of feel like their style fits him a little bit better. Maybe that's true. We don't know. Like, we'll have to wait and see for that. As far as the contract goes, I don't think the Avalanche were going anywhere near that. You know what I mean? Like, they if they didn't have a buyer for him, or if they felt like, hey, we're still going to work with him and still give him time. I shouldn't really say if they didn't have a buyer. There was going to be a buyer for him. Mm-hmm. He's still very young. He still has that first round draft pick attached to his name. There were going to be plenty of buyers for him. Let's just say if the Avalanche did decide we are going to keep him, we still want to work with him, you were not going to get 4 years out of it. If Bo Byram just got 2, you're not going to get 4 years, and you're not going to get 2.9. It would have been probably about $1 million less than that on the high end. So good for him. He cashed in a little bit, maybe a little bit more than he would have in Colorado. And he got a decent term, 4 years. So he doesn't really have to worry about it for the next 4 years. But Montreal, yes, like what you said, Montreal is seeing something there that you only caught glimpses of when he was in Colorado, and they clearly feel that he can bring that consistently or more consistently with them.
And, under the helm of St. Louis, you're curious. You wonder, Possibly. But when you saw what Alex Newhook inherited when it comes to being utilized, he had every opportunity, and he had a really good team around him to bolster him to his potential. He's not going to have that safety net in Montreal. And by the way, those Montreal fans will let you know if you are not up to potential. So
yeah,
it's
well,
definitely a big gamble.
They will, but they also need to be a little bit patient right now, right? They know this is not going to get turned around right now. And that was kind of what Newhook was alluding to in this press conference. Let's see, there was everybody was reporting on it. I'm just pulling this from The Athletic. This is at the heart of what the Canadiens hope to tap into. They feel Newhook was misused in Colorado, and they hope to fix that. But misuse doesn't only apply to line mates and roles. It can sometimes refer to style of play and philosophies and how those run counter to a player's strengths. And let's see, this Canadiens general manager Ken Hughes said that because Colorado is in a Stanley Cup window, because winning now is the utmost importance, there wasn't enough tolerance of Newhook's development needs in that environment. I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, you wanted to see that development because he's in that situation. I get that's a lot. That's a lot to put on a player. That's a lot to put on a young guy. And he maybe was thrown into the fire a little bit quicker, maybe a couple of years ahead of where it needed to be. But I think the Avalanche saw the writing on the wall, as if to say, like, even if we keep him around, we just don't feel like it's working. So we might as well cash in for him now rather than keeping him another couple years and trying to work with him. And if it doesn't work out, and we mentioned this before, we're at Tyson Jost 2.0, we're at Martin Kaut 2.0. Like they just said, okay, like if it's not working, it's not working. Let's find a buyer for him. So that's not necessarily false what he's saying.
All right, Mr. Maselli, hello. I have my hand raised. I heard I heard what you just said, and I have a question concerning this Alex Newhook fella. What in the world did they do that did not suit Alex Newhook? What can you, with the teammates around him and the experience on that roster, what lessons can you not learn, especially with the adversity of injuries all year long? How did any of that react? How was any of that negative to Alex Newhook in his development?
So I think it was different. Like, it's tough to answer that because yes, they gave him the opportunity. And number one, maybe he wasn't ready to seize that opportunity just yet. And he's got attributes that the Avalanche like and love. He's got the speed. He's a great puck handler. He's a good puck mover. Where it fell short is look what they're doing now. They are going into a road where he doesn't fit in terms of, and they use the term grittier. He's not that guy. And if they're going down the road of we need to, like what Seattle did to us and what a lot of other teams did to us in the regular season, what Seattle did to us in the postseason, he can't be here and us be a team of grit and us be a team of a little bit, more meat on the bone, so to speak. He's not that guy. So they gave him the opportunity. He did the best with the opportunity, but where they want to go, he doesn't fit into those plans.
I ask all this because the way Montreal makes it sound is like we didn't put him in the correct role and we were asking too much of him. Like it sounded like, you remember when we sent him down at the beginning of last year? Because he wasn't between the ears ready. He was acting like an NHL guy off the ice, but wasn't doing what it took on the ice. And then last year he had every opportunity to rise the ranks. It was finished the year on the fourth line. I don't know what role Montreal expects him to fill, unless he should have been a defender this whole time, and we had it wrong since the beginning. But I don't see how Colorado was a negative experience for Alex Newhook. It's just Newhook wasn't putting it together.
Well, as he says, I think it's a little different being on a team that's at the top of their division all year and fighting to win conferences. Ever since I've been in Colorado, I think the margin for error is a little smaller. Yes, it is. But yeah, I think having a bit more of that leash and that trust, I think, is a big thing as well. And I think that's something that he's talking about Marty St. Louis, Montreal's head coach. Marty has said that they're going to try and instill in me as well. I think that's the biggest thing, is having that kind of trust both ways. That to me, well, first of all, he said a little bit like longer leash. He's gonna get that. It's literally like, yeah, this is two different worlds right now. You were on a team that is in win now mode, and yeah, and I get it. And you were young and you had a lot of learning to do, but you needed to learn quicker. And maybe that's unfair to him, but that's the role that he's in. And if they kept him around a couple years, we'll never know if he could have morphed into that. But the Avalanche weren't willing to wait, because they do have this window, and they're gonna, go to every length to put the best team that they can on the ice. Now, that's a whole other question if you feel like they've done that, but clearly Alex Newhook wasn't in the plans for them. And for him to say, like, he wasn't used the right way, or however he worded it. Yeah. He said this: I think there were times during the year, even when guys were injured and our lineup was a little decimated, that I still kind of thought I deserved to get a bit bigger of a role during that time. I think that some of the games, maybe I didn't fill that role as good as I could, but I think other games that I fit in pretty well there and did well up with the lineup, and felt a lot better playing 17 or 18 minutes a night, and felt that I was more involved in the game, and that I had more of an impact. So, I mean, he's asking for more of a role, and to your question, like, you got that. You were handed it in the beginning of the season.
He's asking for a longer leash, more trust, but putting up none of the numbers. We talked about it when we did our grades. Like, they weren't there. Like, produce, and you can get that. Mm-hmm. But now he's in a spot. I'm glad I have a longer leash, and I'm not expected to win. Like,
you don't like to hear that.
Yeah,
man.
and I'm glad he's saying
Montreal
right now has to be looking at the 30-day money-back guarantee and say, "Can we return this?"
They're not. They're not doing that.
Like, this is not what you want to hear. 2.9. Yeah, this is exactly what we want. My last team wanted me to win. I can't deal with that.
He's basically saying, like, bury me somewhere and let me just go through my lumps.
I said my dream was to get drafted in the NHL. Playing in the NHL.
I don't know. Maybe just, I don't know. To me, that one was like, wow, okay, all right. You maybe you just weren't ready for it. Maybe you just weren't ready for, and it's not even the spotlight. You're in a mid-market team with the Avalanche. Now you're going to the mighty Montreal Canadiens, not in terms of team right now, but in terms of press and media. Mm-hmm. And yeah, while you're not expected to win everything right now, I mean, if you're just fumbling over yourself up there, they're going to call you out on that no matter how bad their team is. So just interesting. I thought it was very interesting comments from Alex Newhook. I do hope he does well, because I was a fan of his, and I did want to see him turn it around with the Avalanche. That's not going to happen. Maybe he turns it around with Montreal, and I hope he does. It was just an odd choice of words.
Yeah, and I hope they don't ask him to win.
Well, but when you're on the spot, maybe they don't come out the way that you intended them to. Maybe that was, this is nothing that's like, locker room chalkboard material or anything like that. Just thought it was interesting how he decided to phrase some of those things. So, All right. We're going to get to some pretty good listener questions here, including, I said, that core question. And of course, free agents. There's still more out on the market. But first, we're going to hear from Athletic Greens AG1. And we gave, especially me, I gave AG1 a try. This was over a year ago now that they've been sponsors for us. And genuinely, you can try AG1 during any day or time of day. And for me, I was noticing like I'd be eating breakfast, and by the time I get to work, I don't know what you would want to call it, but it was just unsettling, like in my stomach, and I just felt odd. And I don't know if what I was eating good. I was eating like the oatmeal and some good cereal in the morning, but I'd still get to work and feel just off. And Athletic Greens came around at like the perfect time, and we started drinking this. I did, and this helps out your gut health. It genuinely helps out your gut health. And I know you started taking it around the same time as me as well, and you had very good results with it.
Yeah, it's my go-to when I'm at work. I take like the travel packs, I portion it out, I take it to work. I feel good the entire day.
For me, like I said, you can start it or just drink 1 cup of it in the morning, afternoon, at night, whatever you want your routine to be. You can start it during whatever time of day you want. For me, it was the perfect thing to start the day in the morning. And you just felt good. To me, that's the important thing, is start your day off right. AG1 became part of my morning routine, and it still is to this day. It's fantastic stuff. So if you want a comprehensive solution, if that's what you need from your supplement routine, then you've got to try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to drinkag1, that's AG and the number 1.com/NHL network. Once again, it's drinkag1.com/NHL network. Definitely check it out. You'll thank us, and your gut will thank you as well. All right, sir. We always are interacting with our listeners over on social media, and they're always throwing out questions to us, and they're always good ones. I love the off season. The season doesn't stop for us because we're always interacting with people, and we got some really good questions, usually over on Instagram. There's a couple here that I want to get to, and I loved this one. I'll throw it up if you're watching on YouTube. And this is from Collins Wellness, who we've had. He's asked a few good questions in the past. I'm sure he's a favorite of yours.
Yeah, great name.
Great name. And he asks, between a first-round exit versus the Vegas Golden Knights, entirely missing the playoffs, or a Game 7 loss in the Cup final, which one is worse? They all stink.
They all stink. But I think one stinks a little bit more, and that would be Game 7 in the finals, because that would be the first time the Avalanche lost.
That's true.
In a Stanley Cup appearance.
That is true. See, I didn't think of it in that aspect. So if you were going to rank these, what would be? So that would be your first. That'd be your worst one.
Yes, absolutely.
What would be your next one?
Next, it would have to be missing the playoffs, because wow, what a fall from grace. Like if you have missed the playoffs, that really stings, especially with this team, with this core, with these players. If you can't make the playoffs, that really stings. And really, you just mentioned our offseason never stops. We will be talking about it day
Long
one.
Off season.
Yeah. What's up with Nathan McKinnon?
Yeah. And so Vegas would be your third one.
I'm immune to it now.
Yeah. And missing the playoffs entirely, our friends at FanDuel, they have Colorado ranked as the favorite right now to win it. So yeah, if you're the favorite to win it and then you don't even make the playoffs, that's pretty bad. Think about Boston this year, right? The incredible season that they had. And no matter when, it didn't matter if they lost in the first round, second round, third round cup, that would have stunk for them. But I think it stings a little bit more to lose in the first round.
Yeah.
So while I said like all of these stink, all of them, man, a first round exit against Vegas would twist the knife a little bit to me. Because you get there, you get in the playoffs, and then you have a first round exit, which you don't want, which you expect the Avalanche to have a good year, and then to be out in the first round stinks. Missing the entire playoffs, to me, that would be second worst. And third worst, while I completely agree, and I wasn't even thinking about that, how you said that would be the first time the Avalanche have ever lost in the Stanley Cup final. That one would sting in the moment the worst, but I think I'd get over that one a little bit quicker because you made it to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final.
That's true.
You got to watch them 7 times in the Stanley Cup final and go for it. So while that one would probably sting the most right off the bat, I'd probably wake up the next morning saying like, well, what else could we have done? You made it as far as you could possibly go. Just didn't play that game again, maybe, and one of those things. Play a game again, maybe it goes another route. So good question, though. Very, very good question. Let's do one more here before we take another quick break. Matt Nickerson asks, which core group will go down as the best in Avs history? Early 2000s or the early 2020s? And you know what? I'm going to make you wait on that. I'm going to make you wait first because we got to talk about.
You are a pro.
You see like how I did that, sir? We're going to talk about Birddogs first. We haven't talked about Birddogs in about a week or so, but even in that week, Kyle has been sporting Birddogs day in and day out. This crazy weather that we're having, it's 95, 105 with, the heat index. And then the next minute it's downpouring rain, golf ball size hail. You can wear your Birddogs and be comfortable throughout all this crazy weatherness that's happening right now.
I have literally thought about that while walking with my kids. I'm like, these Birddogs come in clutch. No matter what weather I run into, I'm prepared.
And no matter what the weather is, whether it's 95 and sunny or golf ball size hail, you look good. It's tough to look good in golf ball size hail, but you can do that wearing your Birddogs, and they make you look good. They are a stretch khaki short designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, and they give you a truly sculpted look. Who doesn't want to look like an Adonis while wearing some shorts? Yeah, come on.
I need all the help I can get.
They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton, because Birddogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice on movement. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Enter the promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. And this is where Kyle usually shows off that Yeti style tumbler, but he's been using it so much. It's in the dishwasher right now getting clean. He's got
You betcha.
Yeah, so he doesn't have, but trust us, it's beautiful. It's a blue Yeti style tumbler. It's got the Birddogs logo on it. It looks wonderful. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. And the promo code is LockedOnNHL. Get your Birddogs order. Get that free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take these Birddogs off. We can guarantee you that. All right, we're going to get back to this question that Matt Nickerson asked. Which core will go down as the best in Avs history? A little bit tough to answer this question right now because the current core, their work is not done. But what they've done so far, we can kind of maybe surmise where it's heading. So which core will go down as the best in Avs history? Early 2000s, early 2020s.
You know what? I think it's finally time.
Oh, you're going to go there.
I think it's finally time.
You're going to unseat the classics right now?
With Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen on this roster and Cale Makar quarterbacking that blue line, it's really going to be hard to make this debate year after year after year. This conversation has to start swinging at some point. And with what you see Cale Makar doing and Nathan MacKinnon's new contract, locking him in for a long time, Mikko's on the way. I really think there's some magic to be had with the remaining members of this current core. Yes, I know we like to look fondly on the early 2000s and 90s Avalanche, but I think those memories will fade the more of these stories we get from 8, 29, and 96.
It's going to be close, right? This is not something where it's like, oh, one is like well ahead of the other. Like, they're right there. To me, I think everything hinges on Gabe Landeskog. If we can look back and just say like, man, he missed those 2 seasons with that injury, but he finished his career strong. He won another. First of all, they have to get at least another cup.
They need, one more.
They have to. If they don't, then this conversation is a what if. And while they will have been good and individually have a lot of records and the stats look good, what do you got for rings? So that's the number one marker. If they can get that, if they both get 2, then we're talking who we just feel is better. And you can say, hey, like the competition now is a little bit tougher than it was back then. That's why teams were, a lot of the Atlanta Thrashers of the world were not working because like there wasn't as much talent to draft as there is now. So, if they get that many,
and while you're freezing up, there you go. You came back. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. And you mentioned Landeskog. I kind of equate him in this conversation as Peter Forsberg, who was somebody else who was injury plagued. With how this story's going, I kind of put him in that role of Peter Forsberg with the injuries and missing time.
Yeah,
I've kind of given Nathan McKinnon that kind of Sakic role, and we're letting it play out. But this conversation doesn't get true credence until there are 2 rings.
Because you're looking at, who we are: Makar, McKinnon, Mikko. Those are your 3, and then hopefully Gabe can still be in that. And then when you go, to the guys of yesteryear, you're obviously looking at Sakic, Forsberg, Hayduk. You can, Alex Tanguay if you want to throw him in there.
Yeah.
Adam Foote.
I'll give Deadmarsh his due every time I get the opportunity.
He's not really like a core guy. He's more, but the difference between back then is you're throwing the goalie in there.
Yeah. And that's where things swing.
And you're not with this group yet. But we're at the early stages with Georgiev. So who knows? So right now, it's still the early 2000s. It still is. But when it's all said and done, which we have another 10 years before we really get to that, it could go down that road of this new crop, depending on what they do in the end. So
a lot of potential.
Yeah. We'll save this other one for later, but we'll end with this one. This is Seth Abraham, 46. What should be the ad on the Avs jersey next season, and why should it be Band-Aid? Well, we know why it should be Band-Aid. And I haven't heard that there definitely will be an ad on the Avs jersey next year. But if you follow on Twitter, I found it interesting that the New York Yankees have an ad on their jersey. And if you had told me who's going to have an ad on their jersey first, the Colorado Avalanche or the New York Yankees, I would have said the Avalanche 100 times out of 100. But the New York Yankees caved, just like every other team is. It's only a matter of time before the Avalanche do. Don't know if it's going to be this year, but if it is, who is it?
I love the Band-Aid thing. You would think
great idea.
You would think it would be something health related. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I want, if it's not something of the health related, let it be like Jack in the Box.
Food related?
Yes.
I got a great one. I have a great one. What is synonymous with the Colorado Avalanche when there's 5 minutes left in the game and they're winning and the DJ blink when I can't hear you to fix your mic, but I could read your lips and you said Blink 182. I have them outside my house on a couple corners of my house. And those are Blink cameras.
Ooh.
Blink camera, and I think Amazon owns Blink, so maybe that's a little conflict with the Seattle Kraken. But why not get the Blink logo on there? People can say, hey, it's not Blink 182, but it says Blink, still kind of in the realm of the Avalanche. There you go.
I'm down with that.
Fire it up. I like it. Fire it up. What do you think, people? If you had to put in a jersey, an ad jersey for the Avs next year, even though none of us really want that, what would it be? Fire away in the comments. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. We thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Crossover tomorrow with Mr. Adam Denker from Locked on Lightning. Make sure to tune that in. I think he's got some words to say about Ross Colton. Until then, he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.